There we go. There we go. I thought I heard bait flipping. And there's a fish there too. There we go. He got little shoulders on him. Not a giant bass, but it's a fish. I heard some shad flickering around a little bit. Oh, he got my worm and everything. All right, come on. Boy, that water's warm. Come on. I got you. Not a giant bass, but it's a fish nevertheless on the walls here at Saguaro Lake. Folks, today we're at Saguaro Lake. Just got out here, and you know, we're midsummer. I mean, it's just, man, it's really hot. It's getting up to like 110 degrees. You want to be off the lake by 10:30. So you get out here early in the morning, and you know, one of the things I love to do is go along these bluff walls and either throw a jig, a drop shot, a Ned rig, something like that. Really works good fishing the bluff walls. One of the reasons I love these bluff walls is they'll use it to chase shad down, and it just, I mean, it's 70 foot of water. But a lot of times when you throw your drop shot out there, you can hit ledges that are coming off the walls. And when it stops, or these little points with rocks and boulders, that's where the fish hide out, and they wait for those shad to swim by, and they run out there and nail it. And that's what we're doing a little bit right now. I didn't see any topwater action really going on. Every once in a while I'll hear a shad flicker or something like that, or hear some flickering along these walls. But if they're doing that, they'll eat that drop shot pretty good. So that's what we're gonna throw a little bit, see what's going on. This is the time of year that I love to fish that drop shot on these walls. And I'll tell you, you'll catch some fish doing it. So what I'm doing today, drop shotting, is nose hooking the bait. I don't do it very often, but I do it. And so what the nose hook is, it's just a small little number 1 hook or number 2 hook. And I'm just nose hooking the worm, just like so. And the hook is exposed, but the worm dances around, and I'm throwing a straight tail with a little chartreuse. It's a morning dawn chartreuse. And then I'm using a 1/4 ounce weight. Look how long my leader is though. I've got a pretty decent little long leader. Not real short, but oh, probably about 14 inches or so. And that allows it, when the weight hits the bottom, for it to kind of flutter down a little bit. And they might see the weight and then go right after it, but I like the little bit longer leader this time of year. If they're strictly on the bottom, then I'll go with a short leader. But a lot of times when you're fishing this kind of stuff, I like a little bit longer leader along these bluff walls. When I won the US Open at Lake Mead, I had a longer leader like this, and that's all I did was this all day long on the bluff walls, and it really worked out good for me. So, and it was in September, but we're here in August, so it's pretty hot. And the fishing's really not all that good. We missed a good bite evidently, but I wanted to come out here anyways because Saguaro Lake does offer ways to catch fish out here, especially early in the morning till about probably noon or something like that where it gets too hot. But man, you can come out here and catch some fish right off the bat. Just start hitting the walls. There's one. Got him. Got him. Not a big one, but another one right there. Oh, those little guys must be up there just eating. Those little guys must be up there just eating them little shad or something up shallower. Every time I come to one of those little divots right there, I catch one. But it's still a bass. You know, this lake has got giant bass in it. I don't care what anybody says. Let me turn the boat here. They're still healthy, but these little guys right here seem to be what's flickering right now up on those little shad up on along the bank, because I just threw up there where I saw one kind of bust up a little bit. So they're running around and biting those, or getting those shad. But the thing is some of the bigger ones might be hanging up underneath, and it's steep. So that didn't even have a chance to fall. It just kind of hit and boom, he hit it. But if it has a chance to fall, maybe we'll catch us a bigger one. You know, today we're throwing a nose hook. One of the reasons why is I'm fishing these bluff walls, and we're fishing a lot of chunk rock, and this is what the nose hook does on the worm. That's kind of how you want it set up. Now, What's cool about this is it's already exposed, so when you go to set the hook, the fish it's pretty much, it's needle sharp, gets right in the mouth, and you catch them a lot of times. But a lot of times I'm fishing the #1 rebarb hook, just like that. And what I'll do when I'm fishing anywhere around cover, weeds, and things I might think I get hooked up in with, you know, trees, logs, things like that, then heavy cover, then I'm gonna go to this rig and I'm gonna pretty much make sure that it's weedless. And that way I can drag it through and drag it over trees and over logs without the hook getting hooked up. And a lot of times I'll catch my fish doing that, or under docks, things, because you don't know what's under those if you're fishing docks. But these two kinds of ways to hook your worm up are awesome. And a lot of times, like I said, when I'm in open water and I don't have to worry about getting hung up on a bunch of trees and weeds and stuff like that, I'll throw that exposed hook like that nose hook. But then when I'm fishing trees and cages, things like that, then I like to go to that way. And that way it drags through and you'll catch a lot more fish that way. So there's two different kinds of ways you can throw that, but when we're fishing on the walls like this is the way I like it. That way when they grab it, a lot of times on the fall you don't feel it, and you just pick up on it, they're swimming off with it, and you've got them hooked. So that's kind of nice. That's a good little rig, right? Both those are really good rigs, and I've caught a lot of fish on them. You know, one thing I get asked a lot about, especially with my drop shot worms, is the colors. What color should I use? Certain times of year, is there a different color, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'll tell you what. I love oxblood red flake when they're on crawdads. And if I feel like the fish are more feeding on shad or bluegill, that's when I'll go with this color here, like a morning dawn with a chartreuse tail or something like that. Those pink colors, those are really good, especially if they're feeding on small fry, something like that. It seems like it just does really good. Or in clear water, ultra clear water, I like this color. So, but if I feel like they're on crawdads and that's their main course, then I'm gonna throw that oxblood red flake. That's my key color usually if they're eating crawdads. Hey folks, for my tip of the week, one thing really important when you're throwing a drop shot, especially on these ledges, but I've done it just about anywhere I throw a drop shot, is, you know, we get hung up quite a bit with that weight sometimes and some chunky rock. Always remember when you're in that chunky rock and you get hung up a little bit, man, I have caught more fish over the years after I get hung up just by shaking my rod tip a little bit, leaving the weight inside the rock or whatever where you're hung up, and just shake it a little bit and then drop your rod tip. A lot of times if there's a fish right there looking at it and the worm shakes and then starts to fall down, it looks like a dying worm or whatever fish, and I've had them actually get me unsnagged by doing that. Lost the weight, but I caught the fish. So always, you know, anytime you get hung up, don't just automatically start pulling in and you know, always just give it a couple of shakes and let it fall just a little bit before you go in there right away, and see if that fish around that area might just go after it. There's been a lot of times I've dead sticked my bait and I bring it through a rock and I'm like, oh, I'm hung, and I'm trying to shake it loose and I stop it and I get popped. So something for you to think about when you get hung. It's a good tip of the week. Oh, I got that one. It's a rat. Look at it. Oh, it's a well, now you know what the little bites have been. Look at that. Goonfish is what we call that in a tournament. Got him. I got him. I knew I'd get one out of there. He's not a giant. He was right up there though, on that little wall. These are what's ticking me. I just think we have a lot of little fish up there eating bluegills or shad. They're just not very big at all. We're gonna make us a move. And this is, we've gotten bit. I mean, it's nice to get bit, but these guys are little. Look at that. He's just a little guy. Little Saguaro Lake bass. Tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull up. We're gonna head down the lake a little bit, fish something a little different, similar but a little different, and see if we can get us a bigger bite. Let's do that. Because that right there tells me working this wall down that I mean, there were probably some big fish down there, but I want to try a few different spots because you want to cover some water, as much water as you can in a slow amount of time that you're doing it in before it gets too hot. So let's hit a few little spots that I like that seem juicy to me, and then we're gonna see what we can get from there. Got one. I got a little bit better one there. Oh, yeah. That's a lot nicer fish, folks. Now that's what we're looking for right there, son. Come on. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Ah, yeah, look at that. I went in that Ned rig. I decided what we would do, and that's the fish we're looking for right there. Beautiful Saguaro Lake bass. Look at that. That little bit of change I made. Wow, that's a beautiful fish. Let's let it get back in there. Thank you, buddy. Wow, I'll tell you what, I made a little bit of change. And what I decided to do was go hunt down some grass. And I'm throwing, this is an exposed. You can get them unexposed, obviously. I mean, you can get them where you can weedless rig them, but look at this, it's all twisted. I'm throwing a Ned rig head, okay, with a little chigger craw, 3-inch chigger craw. And I'll tell you what, that little dude, day in and day out for me, when the fishing gets tough, that thing catches fish, especially when they're eating crawdad. And what I'm doing is I can see on my forward-facing sonar, I can actually see the weed line out there, and I'm just touching alongside the weed line. The bass are hanging on that weed line. I happened to see a patch of weeds there and saw a fish swimming through there, and it looked pretty good. I thought that might be a carp, and he went for it. But that's the ticket right there, and we just got here. So what we'll do is we'll fish this around a little bit. Maybe we can catch some bigger fish and see if we can't catch them. If you get into the weeds too much and you don't have the forward-facing sonar, you can still come out here fishing these weeds. You can either Texas rig this, or they make the Ned rig head where you can actually Texas rig or make it weedless, the chigger craw, and still get it down in there and not get hung up. And if you're gonna do that and you really wanna get into the weeds, then you swap over from, say, the spinning outfit, maybe go to a bait caster at that point. And that way you can get it out of the weeds. That's a good little start right there on that bait. I had to make a change. We caught some small fish on that drop shot out there on the walls, and you can catch them, but man, I needed to get someplace where I might be able to catch a little bit bigger fish. Reeds and weeds is something I really love to fish. And you know, it's not that deep of water. We're fishing out there in about 9 foot of water, you know, and they'll hide in those weeds. They will. They'll come out and ambush their prey. But I like the edge of the weeds if you can find them. You know, I was talking about the different Ned head rigs to use in certain situations. You know, when you're in open water, you can throw this kind that's exposed to where when you put the crawdad through it, or your worm, it just exposes the hook. And that's how we're throwing it today, alongside those weeds. But if I want to get up in those weeds, I can still throw a Ned rig in there with this particular one. It's got that offset shank where you can actually rig it weedless. And that is so cool with a Ned rig, and it still gives it that appeal of a Ned rig when you're throwing it that I really like, which shoves the pinchers up just like that. It's weedless. I skin the bait. See how it's weedless? Now you can throw it in stuff. And it still pops when you're bringing it across the bottom of the water. These crawdad pinchers and stuff will start popping. But this is a great rig, man, when you're in heavy cover, a lot of trees, brush, stuff like that, because you can bring it over that kind of stuff and catch a lot of fish. And I'll tell you, but when you have an area where you can throw it exposed, it's that much nicer. But you got either one works really good. Caught a lot of fish on both of them. Heavy cover, open water. Hey folks, we're at DD26 Fishing with Dave Davis right here, and we've talked a lot about your products, Dave, but this is definitely a must-have product. Can you explain what it is?
Absolutely, Johnny. These are our Gen 2 steering locks. Great thing about these, Gen 1, everyone loved the Gen 1 steering locks. They're billet, come in 8 different colors. But the challenge we had was there's multiple steering systems, Baystar, C-Star, U-Flex. These Gen 2s allow us just to change the clips, and we can change the width or the diameter for the rod that these go on. So when you're trying to keep your engine from moving left and right going down the road, we've took every bit of play we can out with these, so you're not going to have any issues with your seals or your steering at all going down the road.
A must-have product right here at dd26fishing.com. Dave Davis and his staff will take care of you. You know, we moved back to the wall. It's starting to get, the sun's starting to get real high. It's getting really hot. It's supposed to be 110 degrees. Oop, I just got bit by a little bluegill, I think. But we moved to the walls because this offers shade. And I went back to the drop shot, changed my worm out, but anytime during the day, especially during the summer when it gets really hot, this shade can be really key to whether you're catching fish or not catching fish. So I like to hit shade pockets and just kind of drag my worm out a little bit. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. It's crazy, the fishing's slow, but we've caught some fish. One here, one there, obviously, but my thought process is this, is I changed my colors as well, and I went to more of a oxblood color, oxblood red flake, okay, with a curl tail on it. And the reason for that is a lot of times you might have to get some kind of a reaction bite out of them, especially if they're sitting off the wall or they're just kind of sitting inside a pocket and you throw it up there and it's falling. That tail coming down a lot of times will make them zap out and grab it. And a lot of times I'm getting my hits like on the way down. They're coming out and zapping it. So that tail really helps, I really feel. When during the day when it really gets slow, I like to get a little reaction out of them. And that's only I think it's a 5-inch curl tail oxblood red flake worm. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm throwing it right up against the wall because it's pretty steep and I'm just letting it fall down. Once it hits bottom, I might shake it a little bit or just kind of drag it off a little ways, and then I'll reel up and make the next cast. Unless there's something out here like rock points or something that makes it worth my while to be able to bring it all the way out to me, it's pretty steep. So we'll bring it off the rocks a little bit. And these fish will be anywhere from 5 to 30 foot of water. So that's one of the reasons I really do like bluffs in the middle of the summer. Well, I'll tell you what a tough day on Saguaro Lake. A lot of boats out here. Hard to find some areas that you'd like to go into sometimes because there's always a boat in the area. Kind of reminds me of fishing my bass club at home. Smaller lakes, you get a lot of that pressure, but I'll tell you what, we caught a few fish today, had some fun, and this lake produces some giant fish, but in the summertime, you can still get out and catch them along those bluffs and some along those weed lines. You know, get out early and go home early. That's the ticket. It's gonna be 110 degrees. I'm already feeling it. As a mountain boy, I am done. But I sure appreciate you joining us on the show today. We'll catch you next week. I'm Johnny Johnson. Now, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks.